In this video, we are going to discuss the interrupts of 8086. Now, in 8086, the interrupts may be because of three reasons. One is from an external hardware using the pins NMI and INTR. Second is using a software instruction called INT-N, where N may vary from 0 to 255. And the third is after an execution of an instruction, there may be some internal interrupt. 8086 has 256 types of interrupts, and they may be provided via external hardware, also by using an instruction. The interrupts which are initiated by software instruction, it can be initiated by INT and instruction. Now N is actually the type number which, as we have already discussed, can range from type 0 to type 255, whereas the same interrupts can be given from the INTR pin. In this case, the processor runs an interrupt acknowledge cycle to get the type number. Now, from type number 0 to type number 4, Intel has already predefined the interrupts, which we are going to discuss in this lecture. The next 27 interrupts, that is from type 5 to type 31, were actually reserved by Intel for some future use. And the remaining 224 interrupts, that is from type 32 to type 255, these are available for the user as hardware or software interrupts. There are 5 predefined interrupts by Intel. First one is divide by 0. Second one is single step. Third is non-maskable interrupt. Fourth is breakpoint interrupt, and the fifth one is interrupt on overflow. So first one is type 0, then type 1, type 2, type 3 and type 4. Now let's discuss them one by one. So the first one is divide by 0 interrupt. So divide by 0 interrupt is actually generated internally by the processor whenever any number is either divided by 0 or the result of the division is too large to be stored into the destination. This divide by 0 is non-maskable. As this is non-maskable, that is, as it cannot be disabled, so we have to be careful while writing a program so that this type of interrupt doesn't occur. Single step interrupt or type 1 interrupt will be activated whenever the trap flag is set to 1. So as we have already discussed that trap flag is used for single step debugging, that is, whenever the trap flag is 1, the microprocessor will be interrupted after each instruction. So whenever trap flag is 1, the processor will automatically generate a type 1 interrupt or a single step interrupt. The third one is a non-maskable interrupt or NMI interrupt or type 2 interrupt. Whenever there is a low to high transition at the NMI pin, this interrupt will be generated. This interrupt cannot be disabled or masked. This is generally used to save the program data or processor status in case if there is a power failure. The fourth one is a breakpoint interrupt or type 3 interrupt. It can be initiated by using this int3 instruction. In this case, whenever a program is executed, when it finds the breakpoint interrupt, it will stop the processing and then it will go to the ISR. It is quite similar to the single step interrupt, but in this case the int3 interrupt can be inserted after few instructions. This interrupt is actually useful for debugging a program by executing the program part by part. So the user can insert int3 instruction in their desired location and then execute the program. So whenever an int3 instruction is encountered, the processor will stop the current execution and then it will go to the ISR. The last predefined interrupt that we shall discuss is the overflow interrupt or type 4 interrupt. Whenever the overflow flag is set because of some arithmetic operation, then the type 4 interrupt will be generated. The type 4 interrupt can also be initiated by this INTO instruction, that is interrupt on overflow. One way of detecting the overflow error is to put the INTO instruction immediately after the arithmetic instruction in the program. So after the arithmetic operation, if the program flag is not set, then the processor will consider INTO instruction as no operation. But if the overflow flag is set, then 8086 will generate a type 4 interrupt which executes an ISR to indicate the overflow condition. Now let's discuss what happens when there is an interrupt. So initially the stack pointer will be decremented by 2 and the content of the flag register will be pushed to the stack memory. Then the interrupt system is disabled by making the IF bit of the flag 0. Also, the trap flag is disabled by making the TF bit of the flag register equals to 0. Then the stack pointer is decremented by 2 and the content of the code segment register is pushed onto the stack. Again, the stack pointer is decremented by 2 and the content of the instruction pointer is put into the stack, so that whenever there is a return instruction, it can come back to the original program. The processor then generates a 20-bit address. This 20-bit address is actually the address of the interrupt vector table. The vector table has the vector address of the ISR or interrupt service routine. The first 2 bytes of the interrupt vector table is loaded into the instruction pointer and the next 2 bytes are loaded into the code segment register. So now the content of the IP is the offset and the content of the code segment register is the segment base address of the ISR. The processor then executes the ISR and the ISR will be terminated by the iReturn instruction. So when the instruction is executed, the top of the stack is brought to the IP, CS and flag register one word by one word. So after every transfer, the stack pointer is incremented by 2. And thus at the end of the interrupt service routine, the previous status of the processor is restored and the processor will resume the execution of the program that it was executing earlier. Now let's have a look on the interrupt vector table of 8086. It can be seen from the diagram that the INT0 or divide by 0 interrupt, the vector addresses are from 0000 to 00003. These are the vector addresses, and in 00000 and 00001 the IP of the ISR is stored, and in the next 2 locations the content of the code segment register is stored. So let's assume that at 0000 it is 0 1, and at the next location it is 1 0, and in 0 0 0 0 2 it's C 0 and 6 0. So the address will be 60C0 multiplied by 10, and then 1001 will be added. So 61C01 will now be the address of the ISR. Similarly, we have for INT1 up to INT255. So it can be seen from here as there are 256 interrupts, and each interrupt requires 4 locations in the IVT. So the interrupt vector table should be of 1 kilobyte. Now let's see what happens when there is an INTR interrupt. So when an INTR interrupt is there, the processor generates INTA bar signal twice. The first INTA bar signal is to inform the interrupting device that the interrupt has been accepted. The second INTA bar is sent to request the interrupting device to supply the type number, that is whether it is type 0 or type 1 or whatever, so that the external device can send the type number through the data bus. And here we end the discussion of the 8086 interrupts.